For me, soccer has informed my worldview, and so I think about it less as like a moment to be patriotic and more as a moment to be connected to the world at large.
Hello and welcome to America's Healthiest City. I am your host, Will Melton, and this is a Channel RVA production. If you're new to this program, please visit americashealthiestcity.com to learn about our 10-year community partnership to make all of Richmond, the entire region, the healthiest in America by 2033. You can check out our ideas board where you can leave your own ideas, review others, and see what it takes to become an ambassador if you are a business, a nonprofit, an academic institution, or a government agency, and you're interested in seeing this come to reality. It takes all of us working together in the same direction, and you can learn all about the ideas and social determinants that we have as a foundation for our thinking around this project. This is a grassroots movement, and on this program, we interview people who are making a cool difference here in the city and inspiring others to live a healthier life, bringing us all toward this goal. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to Alex Kocher, the freelance creative director who is behind the logos of the Richmond Ivy and the Richmond Kickers and their jersey kits and so much more. Alex, thanks for joining me today. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you as you and I have had the opportunity to speak in the past.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me.
So we start this program very simply. Everybody is either from here or they were born here. So tell us, are you a native to Richmond or did you come here? And if so, what caused that?
Yeah, no, not a native. I'm a transplant, originally from Ohio, came here by way of Oregon. So sort of a long way around, but my wife and I had an opportunity to come back east and be closer to family, and she had a great creative opportunity as well, and so we made the trek about 4 years ago now.
So Richmond is the closest thing to Oregon that you can find on the East Coast. Is that what I understand?
It's a pretty good comparison at times, yeah.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming to Richmond. We all stand to gain from your presence. We all have gained from your presence. Tell me a little bit about what it's been like. What are the things, the nuggets the city has given you that's inspired you and led you to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, Richmond's certainly given me a lot back in the short time that we've been here. It's some great creative opportunities working with the Richmond Kickers and the Richmond Ivy. That's been sort of the beginnings of my own business, Easy Friday Company, and I hadn't started Easy Friday before I moved here, and the Kickers and the Ivy were a big part of the beginnings of that, and my drive to create art for that will help grow the game in the United States. And grow the game, I mean specifically soccer. That's my background. That's where I come from. I grew up playing there my whole life, and found myself as a creative in the sports industry. When I was living in Oregon, I worked for the Portland Timbers and Thorns of Major League Soccer and the NWSL. And yeah, that's kind of where I cut my teeth in sports marketing and creative. And moving here has been the opportunity that I needed to go ahead and go out on my own and start my own business to work with different soccer clubs and organizations around the area of sport.
I love the intentionality behind that. You found a sport that you love, you sticking with that sport from a professional perspective. I know a lot of people out there work a job to get paid, and when we have a choice to do a thing that we love, gosh, it's got to be so rewarding.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful marriage between two of my passions, between soccer and creativity, and getting to merge those things and not just do it for the pure enjoyment, but that each of my clients has goals, and their goals are to grow, to reach a bigger audience, to have a bigger impact with the audience, their existing audience. And so having sort of that business acumen and background to help support that work for my clients is something that is incredibly rewarding. The Richmond Ivy is a great example of a club that didn't exist prior to. And when I connected with the front office of the Richmond Kickers, I was reaching out to them just to see if I could help make T-shirts or scarves, something that would be fun and on the side. And when I learned that they were starting a women's club, I was like, oh, well, let's talk about that, because that's the thing that I think I could really lend my skill set to and help elevate and make an impact in the community. And it's really fun to see, flags and scarves and things out and about in the city. And it really changes, how you view like, oh, my work is actually touching other people's lives in a big way.
I think as I talk to other creatives, that's one of the things that surprises me that surprises them. That there's this moment that they are, kind of realizing the fruits of their labor and seeing it out in the marketplace. The same thing happened with, Hamilton Glass's artwork is everywhere, but, to see it on a physical product was kind of a cool thing for him. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that's a recurring theme for a lot of creatives. But before we get too deep into that, I want to talk a little bit about soccer because, man, it's a great time to be in America. Yeah. A lot going on in soccer, both, internationally, but also locally. There's a lot of things going on in soccer. So who's your team and what do you think about what's happening?
Well, as an American soccer fan, I think we're in a unique place because it's not often that our teams are like bequeathed to us by our families, so we get to choose. And with the global nature of soccer now, you could choose many teams across the world and pick different teams. So I am, as far as like Major League Soccer goes, Columbus Crew was my first team. I grew up going to games when I was like 8 years old, being from Ohio, and then have a lot of love for the Timbers, spent 8+ years working with them and had some amazing experiences going to MLS Cup, traveling with the team, a lot of wonderful experiences for that. So Major League Soccer, those two for sure. NWSL, definitely the Thorns. Locally, obviously the Richmond Kickers and the Richmond Ivy, they play in different tiers than those that I've previously mentioned. And then abroad, Arsenal was probably my first love. Speaking of the World Cups, 1998 was probably the first World Cup that I really clued in on as a kid and followed it deeply. And Thierry Henry was an incredible athlete and had an amazing World Cup. And just I clued on him and I was like, where does he play? He played for Arsenal and the rest was history.
We got a couple of Arsenal fans in the house here today, so
love it.
We won't tell them because they'll come busting in here. But so interestingly, we have a new coach on the Kickers, so that's a change. I guess I read that they lost their first game with a new coach, but any perception, thoughts on that? I haven't been an avid game attender this year. I've been incredibly busy, but I've got to get out there.
Yeah. The sporting side of things, everyone's going to have their own thoughts and opinions on it and what they deem as success. And for me, I think it's exciting that we have this new coach. I think the team needed some fresh energy. And I think the Kickers have shown through their time with Darren that, they're going to stick by you. And so my hope is that they can turn it around and get some more wins. And for me, I think win, lose, or draw, getting out to the matches and being part of the community and being there locally, that's the part that I enjoy. If you want to go see the highest level of soccer in the area that you go see the Kickers or the Ivy, and that's just the fun and the joy of it for me.
Yeah, and it won't matter for our viewing audience because this is pre-recorded, but there's an Ivy game tonight,
that's right.
And I have to miss that. But the rain's going to clear up in time for that game, so that's good news. Now, the Kickers, the City Stadium is also putting on World Cup matches in the stadium this year. Have you been able to get out to that?
Yeah, this past Friday, I went to a U.S. versus Australia watch party and it sold out.
Really?
It's free, but you have to register. Obviously, They have tickets in a limited capacity. So it was sold out and just the crowd was amazing. Richmond really turned out for the World Cup match and it was really exciting to see.
I was talking to Tom Pritzel about that, and I knew it would be successful, but to know that it was a sellout, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
Yeah, it's really exciting. That's the sort of ripple effect a competition like the World Cup can have for lower tier teams, and I think you see the effects later on in a month from now when kids are out there kicking around because they want to be the player that they just saw on TV.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. If you want to own the internet in your domain on search and in AI search, you need the team that wrote the playbook on how to land on top. At Exponent 21, we help businesses dominate search rankings, drive traffic, and convert visitors into loyal customers. In the world of AI, it pays to be number one. You are number one. Make sure the world knows it. Go to exponent21.com and get a free multi-page SEO report when you mention America's Healthiest City. You're listening to America's Healthiest City on Channel RVA. I'm your host, Will Melton, and today we have Alex Kocher in the studio, who is the creative behind the Ivy and the Kickers logos and jersey kits. We're talking about all things soccer because that's what it's all about. And I am not the biggest soccer person in the world, but as I've mentioned to you in the past, I've come around. Richmond Water's partnership with the Kickers and having refill stations out there has been a fun thing to explore and to understand more about the world of sports. And when we spoke before, we talked a lot about the sort of the captive audience and all of the elements and the artifacts and the things that go into building an exciting experience for a fan. It's not just a logo. It's a lot more than that. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about what that process is like and how you go about thinking about what, the end-to-end of that looks like?
For sure. Yeah, there's multiple parts to a brand, right? And I think from a 30,000 foot view, a brand is not just what it looks like, but it's also the experiences you have with the people that are part of that organization. And so, from a soccer point of view, like the brand's experience is your touch points with the ticket sales staff or customer service, merchandise, what is it like being at the game, the athletes, all of those things. That experience part is part of the brand. And where I come in is sort of the visual identity. And the visual identity is something that isn't just a logo, like you said, it's multiple parts. And with the way modern marketing functions and all of the different channels that we have to be present on, especially in sport where you have the physical aspect, you have the digital broadcast, et cetera, your brand identity, the visual identity needs to be adaptive and flexible. And so what I like to do is design in systems. So you have sort of a primary mark, maybe a secondary one that's a takedown of that, perhaps an icon that you can pull out of that. And then obviously every organization has a name, and so you have word marks, different aspects. And that's sort of the visual brand package that I create for my clients. And then, you include color and typography and some guidelines along with that to kind of get them started. And that's really like just the foundation of it. You mentioned the kit design earlier, and that's sort of like the next step, the next stage of for a soccer club. Like there's no better piece of brand marketing than what the club and what the athletes are wearing on the field. And so for us, our strategy has been to tell hyper-local Richmond stories through our jersey design. And that's been a really, really enjoyable part of this, relationship that's been building now over 3 years, is getting to tell some really unique stories through the kit design and then produce a campaign to, you can design a great kit, but if you don't show everyone what it is and tell that story appropriately, might fall on deaf ears. And so getting to work with different talented photographers, work at different iconic locations in Richmond, it really makes it feel full circle and come together.
It's a lot of intentionality that goes into something that when you walk into the stadium and you sit down to watch the game, you might not ever think about. You see the jerseys, you see the colors, you're a fan, you feel it in your heart, but there's a lot of work that goes into getting that moment right.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, while we are definitely, the Richmond Kickers and Ivy are definitely here to serve the community, I think there's a desire to be recognized in the national landscape of soccer. And I think one of the ways that a smaller club can do that is by being really creative and putting themselves out there in a way that gets jersey collectors or just the national soccer media talking about what they do. And, this first pass at doing these sort of kit campaigns and launches has been, I will say, pretty successful and an exciting starting point for the club and I to continue this type of work.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about that because there's a few angles here. I could go down a political route and I'll talk about that briefly, but there's the sort of the national sort of vibe that we have and whether we're all in sync with that or not. I was talking to my mom over Father's Day and she said, I was feeling down about America and until the World Cup started and, all the European fans are like, we don't have this kind of patriotism. This is really cool. And she started to remember, like what we're all trying to do with this experiment. But in America, soccer is a growing sport. It's becoming more popular. It's got a lot of legs. So you're in a great business, obviously, in a growing industry. But tell me what you think about that. What motivates the growth of the sport, and what might we be able to benefit from as more people become fans and go to games and meet other folks.
Yeah, I mean, from the sort of connective tissue, I think it's partly, your local community and getting there's few things that bring me more joy than like connecting and hanging out with a couple of friends and kicking a ball around. So there's just on the pure basis of like what the game is, it's so much fun, and it is easy to do, and all you need is a ball. Like, I know that's kind of a trite saying, but like truly that's it. But it can connect you globally, and I think we're seeing that now, right? And it's the Scottish fans flooding Fenway Park and chanting throughout the entire baseball game. Like there's a shared cultural experience in that moment, and that's just one micro example of what can happen day to day on the scale of how you experience the game. For me, soccer has informed my worldview, and so I think about it less as like a moment to be patriotic and more as a moment to be connected to the world at large.
So what does the future look like for your work? Do you have some ambitions to work with other teams, or are you working on some other projects?
Yeah, I have been really fortunate to focus almost all of my work entirely in soccer. I've worked with different organizations, different clubs. I helped brand and launch the Cleveland Astra, which is a women's team, and the Forest City Cleveland, which is their sibling club. And that's out in Cleveland, Ohio. So that's a new project that I just completed earlier this year, which is very exciting. And yeah, as far as ambitions go, I just completed a project working with the restaurant Chili's, of all places. And, getting to partner with brands, I think, is one of the more exciting areas right now, too. That's not just working in clubs and those that are like already entrenched in the sport, but kind of being a Sherpa of sorts of like, there are unique, distinct things that happen in soccer culture, and for brands and organizations that want to get involved but do so in a meaningful and authentic way, that's an exciting like Venn diagram for me to play in creatively.
Yeah, just as a consumer of the internet, I've watched a lot of the ads and on YouTube for various brands that are tapping into the World Cup, and it's amazing. It's really amazing how attached fans get to the players. I think I saw one ad that had like 4 star-studded players in it, and it was a reaction video on Instagram or something, and the guy was just screaming at the top of his lungs about how exciting it was to have this one star, and then it was another star and another star and another star. And I've never really been that big of a fanatic of anything, but I can certainly see how when you fall in love with something and you really get entrenched in it, that all the parts are the things that make life exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether it's the fandom in a particular player that you enjoy watching and that sparks some sort of creativity in you that you want to go out and try that move that they did, or if it's the team that you go to, and I don't know, there's so many like human experiences that people get to have around sport, and there's pros and cons to like the tribalism that can be when you're a club or a nation and you're fighting for that, and like there's definitely a dark underbelly that can happen. And I think football is known for its sorry, I use that interchangeably, football and soccer. I think football is known for that, especially in England. There was like a dark period in the 70s and 80s of hooliganism. But the opposite side of that is so true and more prevalent, in that it's about connecting, about being among friends, about celebrating and like commiserating together. And I think that is a powerful need for humans, is to do that en masse, and going to your local Kickers game or to see the national team play on the world stage. Both things can be true and can be felt in real ways.
Well, it's an exciting world, I think. I'm curious, for you, with so much soccer, is there space for any other sports?
I am an appreciator of competition, but no, there's so much soccer in the world that I just can only dedicate so much time to following the sport. And so, yeah, a casual observer of all sports, but a diehard fan of soccer alone. And that's, yeah, I don't think my wife would appreciate any more sport being added into my mix during the day.
She tolerates the soccer, though.
I often joke that she is the world's least interested, most well-traveled soccer fan of all time, because she indulges me anytime we travel, and she's seen games all over the world. We're very fortunate to be able to say that, and yeah, she loves it when it's part of the cultural experience of that place that we're visiting. So.
Well, we're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the future of Richmond and how we can move toward becoming the healthiest region in America.
So you've probably figured out by now that Richmond Water is on West Broad Street. But where the heck else is it?
You can find us online. We're at drinkrichmondwater.com, and there's lots of ways to engage with our website here, but if you come all the way down the bottom, that's where you will find the map of free refill stations across the city. Just open this Google map that we have here that you can submit to at any time, and you'll find these pink dots are the Richmond Water refill stations, of course, Broad Street, and then over at City Stadium. And then all of the little blue dots are other places that have water refill stations where you can get free water across Richmond City. Join us in making free water more accessible on drinkrichmondwater.com.
Welcome back to America's Healthiest City, a Channel RVA production. I'm your host, Will Melton, and today we have Alex Kocher in the studio. We're at West Broad Studios in downtown Richmond, and today we're talking about soccer. So Alex is the creative director behind the Ivy and the Kickers logos and jersey kits, and we're talking about how soccer connects fans to each other and to their country and to so many other elements of their community. In that spirit, we are all about trying to find ways and pathways to bring Richmond along. And so part of the reason we tell these stories is so that the folks who might be at home thinking, nobody's doing anything to make this place better, they can see that there are a lot of people doing that and kind of pull them along. And so I'm curious about your thoughts. You've been here for a little while. What do you think is happening now? We're seeing a lot of change, a lot of transition and growth. Some good, some bad, obviously, always. But what do you think? How do you feel about how things are going, and where do you see things going as we go forward?
Yeah, Richmond is a beautiful city. I think it's got a vibrant culture, and I do have a limited experience, I think, to a lot of folks who have grown up here and seen the many changes. I visited, my very first time to Richmond was in 2016. So I do have like a blip of a touch point, like what was it back then? And I know places like Scott's Addition have completely changed within that time period. And so coming from the Rust Belt, the Midwest, I am for progress. I'm for seeing development happen, and as long as it's done in sustainable and responsible ways, and like certainly a thoughtful manner. So, for me, what I hope for Richmond is that we continue to have open dialogues with the community to make sure that those that are currently in specific places are being represented in the changes that are made. And I hope that that continues to be, and that we make progress making a healthy city.
So, keeping with the theme of soccer, what do you think about the future of our teams here and soccer in Richmond and City Stadium? What needs to happen? What do you think is going to happen?
City Stadium is definitely a facility that could use a little love, especially on the far end. But I mean, it is a great place for soccer. I think that pitch in particular is probably one of the best in all of USL, and we do have an amazing fan experience on the west side of the stadium. So I think it's in a great position right now to seize the growth that is coming our way in soccer in America, but also soccer in USL. USL is the governing body that covers the Richmond Kickers League. We play in USL League One. There is a tier above that called USL Championship, and there is a tier that will be founded above that in 2028 called USL Premier. And when USL Premier starts their league, That will be the first time that we introduce promotion-relegation into the United States. And I think for clubs like the Kickers, that is one of the most exciting things that could be happening in soccer here in the United States.
So I understand that there's a hope that getting the World Cup games into the stadium is going to bring people to the games that they haven't been to, that they maybe haven't really fallen in love with the local teams. What do you see being the future of the teams, kind of connectivity to the community, and what does growth look like for I mean, obviously the Ivy is a newer team, and, they're not playing as many games. How does that actually, maybe you know the answer to that question, are they slated to play more games as time passes, or is it going to kind of be capped to this format?
Yeah, so currently the Richmond Ivy plays in what's called USLW, and that's a semi-professional league. So most of these athletes are college students, or we even have a few high school athletes that are standouts that are playing with the Richmond Ivy. So that, because of the semi-professional nature of it, that league is kind of limited to the summer window when students aren't in school. So as far as their current format, I don't know that they'll be able to add more games to the mix for them. But that's not to say that the club isn't ambitious, and USL has just started what's called the Super League. I think they're maybe in year 2 now, but that is a professional first division women's league in the United States that kind of rivals the NWSL. And so who knows what the future might hold for the Richmond Ivy. Maybe someday they're playing in the USL Super League.
Cool. Well, that would be really cool.
Yeah, it'd be really fun.
Yeah, well, I've definitely been, watching the fan numbers grow for both teams, and I think Richmond gets bigger. It's bound to just be a packed stadium every game here pretty soon.
We'd love that. Yeah, come on out.
Well, we ask all of our guests a couple of questions. One, I'm curious what your thoughts are as you think about what makes a city healthy. What might be something that folks might choose to do as a means to contribute, small ways or big. And then we also like to know who else is out there making the city what it is, and who should we talk to get their story.
Yeah. Well, I think as far as what makes a healthy city, it's sort of those third spaces, and for people to come together and connect, maybe play some soccer. So if there's more opportunity, I know out in Churchill there's a great futsal court that was recently built in the past few years. And I've been out there to play with a few of my friends recently, and it is awesome to see. We've mixed it up with like middle school and high school kids that are out there playing as well, and we just kind of rotate games and like play together. And so more spaces like that, more soccer facilities that are just always open. I think there's a larger conversation, and we'd probably need another 3 podcast episodes to talk about pay to play and what that does to the United States and the development leagues and our youth programming and the pressure that we put on youth athletes. That's a whole nother topic, but having the ability for young athletes to go out and play will inherently make a healthier city because the number of people that go professional is limited. It's the 0.0% or 0.1% that are making a career out of this. And but I can speak from my own experience that like as an athlete growing up, you take a lot of those healthy habits with you, and I think that's what sport can really do for the youth, is like establish good values, healthy habits. And when you're physically healthy, when you're personally healthy, you can be mentally happy, and then that, I think, just radiates outwards in how you interact with your community and how you support the people that are around you. And so as far as the city and what can be healthy or how we can be healthier, I think it starts at an individual level, and I think sport can do a lot for that.
I appreciate that a lot, because as a child I was not an athlete, and I tried out for baseball when I was in first grade, and the pitcher hit my hands and I ran off the field crying, and my dad said, "Okay, you don't have to play baseball." But for me as a kid, it was hard. It was hard to do the presidential fitness test, and I didn't want to be embarrassed by that. And so there was like a whole social thing going on for me. But sure. It wasn't until really a couple of years ago that I started to appreciate the value of being in shape, and I say that meaning like that you can go work out and exert yourself physically and not feel like you're going to die when you're done, and maybe feel better when you're done. Yeah, that's been a really great gift. So I thank you for sharing that with our guests.
Of course.
And is there somebody that you would recommend to come on this show whose story we can pick apart?
Yeah, I think Jason St. Peter is a man that I've gotten to know, another fellow creative that I've gotten to know over the past year or so. He is creative director and founder of Think 804. It's another creative agency here in town. And Jason is someone that is very much rooted in the fabric of Richmond and the community here, especially through all of his work. So I think he'd be a great conversation.
I think so too. Well, I appreciate you coming on and chatting with us. Enjoyed learning more about you, even from our previous conversation. And we'd love to have you back as things evolve here for soccer and for your career.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's been great talking with you and would love to come back anytime.
So that's a wrap, folks. Please check out americashealthiestcity.com to find out how you can get involved, and subscribe to this program on channelrva.com or on americashealthiestcity.com so you can get updated when new podcast episodes are dropped. See you next time.